Today we're jumping right into Christmas with part 1 of this double spread page, so stick around. Hello colorists, welcome to PencilStash, a weekly show all about coloring. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing to get all the new content, and be sure to hit that like button if you're enjoying my videos. Today we are kicking off the Christmas season with this double spread from the coloring book Romantic Country's Second Tale by Eriy. It depicts a great front entrance all decked out for the holidays. A nutcracker on each side of the door, this beautiful wreath in the middle here on the door. Very excited to start this one. Now, since it's a big double spread, we're going to have to break this up into a few videos so that I can keep as much of it in real time as possible for you guys. And I'm planning something special to finish off this page, something I've not used before, and I'm very excited to try. So please stick around to see the final video to see what it is. I really hope it works out. I'd like to start on all the windows, putting in a nice warm glow. So I'll start with cream, focusing this color in the middle of each pane with very light pressure. I'm leaving about 1/4 inch around each section blank, since we'll be finishing that with more color in a moment. Now with Jasmine, I'm going to put this around the perimeter that we just left blank using that feathering technique that I went over in last week's video, meaning we're going to use very light pressure and overlap the cream area a bit to better blend the areas where these two colors meet into a seamless transition. We'll add even more warmth now with our peach color. Same technique here, going around the perimeter with very light pressure. And we're going to use the same colors and techniques on all 4 windows of the double spread until you're happy with the look. I really like these nutcrackers. They're one of my favorite things on the page, so let's turn our focus to them. And if you look too, they are similar yet different. So we're going to treat them accordingly, kind of keeping them very much in the same color palette. We're just going to put 2 different cool grays into his hat to start. This will give it some color variation instead of just going right in with an all-over layer of black. Although now we are going to go in with actual black to finish it off. And we'll be doing just one of the nutcrackers on camera here, but you'll do pretty much both the same way, but again, a little bit different, and I'm going to show you both when I'm done here. And I did do some hunting online for some reference photos to draw from, a little bit of inspiration, and it does seem like Nutcracker's hair is usually white or gray, but the mustache and the eyebrows are usually black, so we're going to do those now too. Very similar technique on his pants as we just did on his hat, putting in some gray as a highlight down the front. Then build around it with the next darker gray in our gradient. And again, finish it off with black. Across this page, I want to use a lot of gold. It's a great holiday season color, but for some reason, I'm just not that fond of the Prismacolor metallic gold by itself. It looks a little bit too tarnished, which just doesn't do it for me. So what I like to do is recreate a gold color using a few colors, namely my bronze and my goldenrod, and maybe even adding in some cream and the metallic gold in some areas to add those lows and those highs. We'll start with goldenrod, just putting down a nice foundational layer wherever we want to recreate that gold color. In a moment too, we're going to use the same technique on some of the ornaments, but starting with a little bit lighter, so definitely stick around for that. Now we're going to follow it up with bronze to layer these two colors until we get the look that we're going for. Now we're going to dirty it all up with espresso. And you can also use your metallic gold color here too to add that little bit of tarnish. It gives you very much the same effect. Now I'm going super classic with our color palette on the nutcrackers, so his jacket will be a series of reds, starting with scarlet red, the lightest in our range, just putting down a great foundational layer that we will build upon in a moment. Bit of Crimson Lake now, the darkest in the range, in those areas that you feel would not be getting that direct light source or areas that might be in a little bit of a shadow. In now with the mid-range red, crimson red, to finish it off. Now you may have noticed I left a few areas of our jacket free of color, as I wanted to add a little bit of a glow in certain areas from the adjacent window. So I'm going to go back in now and finish off those areas with cream. Now I'll use espresso to put some true shadows in. Let's give our nutcracker some curly gray hair. So we're going to go in with two different cool grays using a curlicue kind of stroke. You can use like a C shape, some half moons, whatever you want to call it, but just make sure that they kind of all kind of go in the same direction, just to give a little bit of fluid movement. You can leave it white too, but it is kind of nice to just give a little bit of texture here to simulate some curls. And don't forget his beard too. We'll use two different beige colors for his skin. But wait. I forgot. We need to give him some rosy cheeks, and we'll do that with DECO Peach. Then we'll go back around those rosy cheeks with beige. And add in a little bit of peach beige now. It's a little bit darker than that regular beige for just some shadows, some variation. Here's the two nutcrackers at this stage. Now they're not quite done yet. I'm gonna go back in later in a much later video, and I'm gonna use my blender to clean up a few areas that I want a bit smoother. But for now, here they are. Now we'll do these ornaments, and maybe this bow, these ornaments over here on these trees, and we're going to use a similar color palette of reds and golds, as well as some cream and white to add a reflection, which is right where we'll start with white. We're going to put a little crescent shape of white as a placeholder. Then switch to our scarlet red, which will surround the white crescent as well as put a super light layer right over top of the white, which we will blend out later. Crimson red around the rest of the ornament, remembering to blend and feather into the scarlet red areas too to create a nice transition. Little bit of crimson lake around the bottom left-hand corner. Now we'll pull out black raspberry and we'll darken up that same corner just a bit more. White will be our blender now, putting a great milky film over top of this that will blend all these colors together as well as give a little bit of a reflective quality that I think a real ornament would have. And do the same with the other ornaments on the page here that you want red. And I'm going to do a combo of both red and gold ornaments. So I'm leaving about every other ornament blank to fill in momentarily with gold. All right, for our gold ornaments, we're going to do much the same thing. Using our white, our cream, our goldenrod, bronze, and maybe we'll even get a little bit crazy and use metallic gold. And we'll start the same way with our white, creating that white crescent placeholder. I know it's hard to see on camera, but it's a lot easier to see in person. Surround that white with cream now. And just a reminder to again use super light pressure to keep it easier to blend later. Do the rest in goldenrod. Make sure you're also doing that super slim line in the upper right-hand corner of the ornament. With your bronze, focus that in the bottom left. Super light strokes just to, again, make it much easier to blend later. All right, I am feeling crazy today, so let's use just a bit of that metallic gold. And blend it out with your white. And do the same thing on the remaining ornaments you want gold. And here's what they'll look like when they're all done. Let's do the ribbon now, and I'm feeling red for this ribbon since the leaves of the garland will be green. And again, I'm going to put a white line, kind of again as a placeholder, across the face of each of our sides here. Scarlet red for the areas that maybe we want a little bit lighter shade of red around the white areas, as well as, again, a very light layer over top of the white as it will get blended out later. Now we'll do the rest with a layer of crimson red, and we'll layer some darker colors over top of this in a moment. Crimson Lake, where you feel there would be shadows. And this black raspberry has some brown tones in it, so it's a great color to use to shade red. And finally, the blender to bring it all together. Just a little bit of cleanup now. And if you did a good job on your blending, not pushing too hard, you should be able to layer color still over top after you've blended. But just be very gentle, very delicate. Let's jump over to these oversized pine cones, which, spoilers, may be part of my plan to amp up the drama on our page at the end, but you'll have to wait till the last video to see it. Starting with burnt ochre, we'll cover 90% of each of the little petal shapes of our pine cone, leaving just the last little bit at the bottom white. Now we'll do the same thing with chocolate, but we're going to do about 60% of each of those petal shapes, leaving the bottom 40% untouched with chocolate. And this technique will create a gradient effect up towards the top of each petal shape. And now espresso, the darkest in our gradient, and we're going to put this on about the top 20 to 30% of our petal shapes. Now we'll use our blender, going up and down each petal with a nice sharp blender pencil. And see what it does? It leaves a great light shade still down at the bottom of each petal, but it kind of brings them all together. And that burnt ochre even has a little bit of like a pink hue to it. Just creates a really nice effect here on our pine cones. And we're going to do the same on all of these around the wreath and ultimately end up with this. Now this wreath might be my favorite part of this page, and I'd love to amp up the impact of it by using some bright greens to complement some dark greens. So we're going to start with bright yellow chartreuse, placing it on each leaf in different spots, just randomly for now. So, maybe on this leaf, we're going to do the middle of it and maybe just the tip. And then on the next leaf, we'll do kind of the left side and maybe a little bit in the middle. Just make them all different. And we're going to do the same with a whole bunch of greens, going from the lightest end of the spectrum all the way to the darkest. So we're pretty much going to take all of our greens and just kind of make it, I call it bad camo, I think you've heard me say that before, but each leaf will be made up of a whole bunch of different greens, and then we'll blend it all out in the end. And you're going to do the same for the smaller petals and the garland around the door. and blend it all together. Now just to show you real quick, do you guys see the difference between the sides here? The right side has not been blended yet, while the left side has. And it not only blends the colors together, smooths those transition lines, but it adds this great vibrancy that I just love. It really makes the color come to life for me. Now I'm going in and I'm just going to line each of our little branches here with espresso, as I don't want them to disappear when I color the door later on, as some of these little lines do have a tendency to get lost. I'm also going to line some of the individual leaves on our garland as well, just to make sure that they stand out, give them a little bit of a 3D effect. All right, so I think we're good. Let's leave our page here. And like I said, this is a large, detailed, double spread. So it's going to take us a few videos to tackle this one. So make sure you join me for part 2 next time. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that thumbs up button. It helps new folks find my channel. Also, please consider subscribing and visiting the rest of my channel to watch more coloring tutorials. Thanks so much for watching today. I will see you next time.